All right, I've got a great guest today. I'm really excited. It's my friend Grant from FreedomVanGo. I've been waiting to talk to Grant for a long time. We see each other all over the place. It's always fun, different events and things like that. But he has an amazing business, and I want to have him tell you a little bit about how it started and then how you sort of got into like the EKKO realm, the Winnebago EKKO, doing adjustments and modifications and things like that. So how'd you get started, buddy?
Yeah, so probably just over 10 years ago, I found out that I actually like camping. I didn't grow up like camping and things like that. I lived in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I mean, there's not a whole lot of camping to do in that area. And it was actually when I was working in Saudi Arabia that one of my coworkers took us out to the middle of the desert. And, all horror movies aside, it actually turned out amazing. It was super cool. Found out I loved camping. And ever since then, like it just kind of blossomed from there. I moved back to the States and started with a Subaru with a rooftop tent and then went to an off-road teardrop, a TC teardrops, which is super cool, family-owned company in Wisconsin, I believe, and then went to Tacoma with a four-wheel slide-in camper, which I absolutely loved. And then one day it was pouring down rain, and I had to set it up, and I said, "That's it," and I bought a van. So that was probably 7 or 8 years ago, I want to say, and started building that van and do the same thing that we do today of share everything that we do, good and bad, and talk about it. And people were like, hey, can you help me with mine? And started off doing like fans and windows and power systems and stuff for people because my penchant is for electricity. I like power systems. I just honestly blossomed into what it is. About 5 years ago, we started this company.
That's the magic. That's the magic thing. That means someone gets to win something somewhere. But go ahead.
Yeah, somewhere. And about 5 years ago, it blossomed into what current day is FreedomVanGo after met my current business partner, Chad. He had a company called Freedom Conversions where they built what they refers to as a bathroom van, where it's got a couple seats in the front and then a legitimate full bathroom in the back with a cassette toilet, still based off of kind of what we do in the EKKOs. He reached out to me for some advice and some work on one of the projects he was working on. And honestly, we just jived so well that probably 6 months later, we went into business together, and kind of the rest is history. And that was just over 5 years ago, almost 5.5 years ago. And
Wow.
now we're having a whole lot of fun with a lot of really cool people, making dreams come true.
I was gonna say, I saw that slippery slope. You start camping is like it's an addiction. Once you get used to, you start small, and then once you get to that van life, there's no turning back.
Yeah, I will never go back to not
Mm-mm.
having a van or something of that sort. Like it's just so much more convenient than a trailer, like a big old RV. Like
Mhm.
it's that perfect middle ground for me. Now, mind you, it's just me and my wife and dogs. We have no kids. There's plenty of people that do this stuff
Mhm.
with kids and multiple dogs and this and that. But for our lifestyle, the van is a perfect situation. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, I love it. And my story is I think I'm on my fourth rig over the years, and I started
Mhm.
small, went big, went back to small and van. And once I got to the van, it's like that happy Goldilocks story. Once you get to that happy spot and you know exactly what works, you're like, I don't think I could go back to anything else.
Yeah, I
So
totally
this is
agree.
cool. So wait, so you started doing vans. So let's talk about the van
Mhm.
thing. So are you still doing van conversions today?
Yes, that's our primary business. I
Mhm.
mean, echoes are just happen to be a sector that because I love them. I mean, we had them from the beginning. That out of my use cases and what I wanted, we just developed parts and solutions, and it worked for other people. So here we are with that. But no, primarily the majority of our business is we do van conversions. And we also do like parts and piece installs for vans. So anything from like windows, AC units, rooftop fans like we use all Max Air fans, Rec Pro Houghton AC units, pneumatic units. We do a lot of windows from AM Auto, Turnoverland, stuff like that. We were the first adventure wagon installer on the East Coast, probably 6 or 7 years ago.
Nice.
We started doing those. Also, Flare Space. We were the first Flare
Mhm.
Space installer on the East Coast as well. So if you want to sleep side to side in your normal van, they're fiberglass bump outs that go in place of rear window areas. We also do like AMF run smart floors. So if you want a DOT FMVSS approved flooring system to have seats and places to bolt cabinets down and all that kind of stuff, we do a lot of those, as well as a lot of what I call DIY assistance, where we'll do like walls and a power system, and then the customer will do like their cabinetry and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of varies a little bit from there. And then the other half of what we do in the shop is parts upfits. So if you have your Class B, or you have a van that you built out and then you want to now have a capable suspension to handle all that extra weight you put in, or because you're going off road, or because you're towing, or you just want a better ride or more control, we do suspension upgrades, wheels, tires, we do bumpers front and back, we do winches, lighting, all that kind of stuff. It's a wide variety of what we do. Echoes are, I want to say, probably 30% of overall what we do. So it's in the scheme of things a minority, but it's a huge passion product, or it's a huge passion project that we do because we like the Echoes, and it just works out well because it's easy to develop things for the things that you like.
It's true. It's true. And I'm a van girl. So I mean, I always have to say this. I started with a van. I was thinking about, and I might still do another build out when, there's lots of things going on out there. Currently have a Ram. Different vans have different purposes. Let's be honest. Some are just for clamping, some are for off-roading. Some just depends on what you're going to do for it. But I was going to do a new build. And when the Winnebago EKKO came out with the splitter chassis, I was like, oh, okay, now we're talking. Like now we're getting to some of the things I want to do. Like how much was it going to cost? What could I do? And so I'm 6 months into my EKKO, and I really tried to break it. Most people will tell you this. I really try to break things. Just take it and go to town. But this is always fun because I remember you guys and I remember your EKKO, and I was thinking about this going, oh my gosh. And so it was so nice to speak to, people on your team and say, I think I need just a little more juice. And I know that you're the electrical guy, and I know you helped out because I saw the Owl Vans video too, where you did their electrical for their big monster that they were doing with the EKKO. Talk to me about, these are, we'll call them off-grid vehicles, but they need a little help if you're really going to go real boondocking for weeks and weeks at a time and stuff like that. So what would you suggest someone who really wants to up their electricity a little bit? What would you say is the key?
Yeah. So, I mean, I look at everything that I do based on cost versus benefit. So there are so many people that buy the van off the lot and are perfectly happy with what it is. Like I have customers that have one battery and they spend weeks at a time. I don't know how they do it. I can't do it. Like Starlink alone eats battery.
Oh yeah.
So, but there are people that, especially if you're used to rustic camping and you go from like, let's say a pull behind trailer into an EKKO, like that's a significant leap. And if you're used to not using a whole lot of power, like you may not need any of this. Like I always start all of these things with, not everybody needs all of this stuff. But if you're like we are, and you have a lot of gadgets and you have a lot of things in the Starlink and you watch TV and maybe a second fridge and you like to use your induction cooktop and your microwave and all this kind of stuff, like you need more power. So, I mean, the thing is to figure out, which configuration works for you. I really like the single battery with a generator because it's always good to have that backup generator. Like there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I don't want to use a generator, this and that. And that's totally fine. But one day that you need it, you're going to wish you had it. In Florida and at events out in California and other places during the summer, like we use a lot of AC, and the generator is the easy way to do that and not have to touch anything. So, the start is just to get the right base and get the single battery, get the generator, and then from there, get the extra battery because you can do 2 batteries. And that's going to double your amount of time that you can do everything in the van. And then from there, it's speed up your charging. The Transit EKKO versus the Sprinter EKKO have kind of different capabilities there. I can charge a whole lot faster in the end with a Sprinter EKKO versus the Transit EKKO, but I can put more batteries in the Transit EKKO than I can the Sprinter EKKO. And we have the LDEN it now for the Transit, so we do 4 batteries in the Transit EKKOs, where I think we can do 4 in the Sprinter EKKO, but we just quite haven't had the time to develop it. But then you're going to lose your forward-facing seat on the driver's side because they're going to have to go where that table goes. Like there's a lot of if this is and that's between picking which one you want. But I mean, the core of all of it is you can expand all of that, mainly being your charging ability. So you can charge faster, which in my opinion is the most important part of all of this, is how fast can you get the power in to minimize the amount of time that you're either having to drive running the alternator and the DC-DC charger, or charging from the generator and the shore power. Like, people are like, oh, you do a 3,000 watt inverter upgrade, so we can use more stuff. No, not really. It's because normally you charge at 80 amps.
Right.
And we want to charge at 120. So you have to run your generator a third of the time less. Like, it's all about getting more power back in as effective as possible, and managing your power usage. I mean, if you're really good at managing your power usage, you don't have to worry about that as much. So it's kind of twofold on figuring out what your route or path for upgrade is.
And I think one of the biggest issues you're talking about, managing your power usage, understanding what each usage is, how much, if you're going to do your Starlink, which you talked about, or other things, like how much do you need just to have it on, how long are you going to have it on, how long are you going to be gone. I like having a spreadsheet. I'm like a spreadsheet queen. So, have all the information so that I can figure out, okay, I could boondock for, 4 days, 7 days. There are a lot of events I go to that are 4 to 7, 10 days at a stretch. And so can I do 10 days easily, or is it going to be a little painful? So
Yeah, no, I totally get it. I mean, it's you can only, if you don't have the data, you can't quantify what you're doing on the back end.
No,
So
not
it's
even.
those energy audits is the word that we use for it, to figure out all the things you're going to use constantly. And because, like, if you're using a Starlink, right, and you're not doing a 12-volt conversion on it, then not only is your fridge always on, not only is your outdoor fridge always on if you have a transit or you have one in like the garage area, but your inverter is always on to run your Starlink. That is always on. And those things compound in an entire day. If I get no solar in a 24-hour period, I can easily go through 500 amp hours worth of battery, because all of these things use a whole lot of power. I mean, that's why we have 1,200 watts of solar on our van, because I can offset a ton of power usage over that 24 hours with 4 or 5 hours worth of a massive solar array. It's all about getting that power back into the van, so that next night you're good to go, so that during that next day you can regenerate all that power that you need.
It's a big deal. Now, I'm going to ask a question that someone brought up to me, and they wanted me to ask you this. So I need to know, if you were a newbie van lifer, what's the best piece of van life advice that you could give?
Yeah, use your van. Stop looking at Instagram. Stop looking at all these things, saying you need this, saying you need that. Just get in your van, get out and do it. That is the best thing that I can tell anybody, and what we try and tell all of our customers that are like, we want all this stuff, and we just got this van, and we want to do all these things. It's like, okay, cool. Go camp in it. See what you actually need. See if you really need that thing that everybody else says you need, and then make that decision. There's so many customers and so many people fall into that, well, everybody says I have to have it, or everybody has this. Like, the very first van I built, I kind of fell into that, and I did the whole, like, the fridge on the driver's side, and doing storage just when you get into the door, and this and that. And, like, I go to the beach a lot. Like, I don't want to go in my van and put sand everywhere just to get something out of the fridge. Like, for my use case, it didn't work well. And there's a lot of things that the way you use your van depends on if you really need something or not. So my biggest piece of advice is use the van, go out, go camp in it, get some time in it, and then figure out what you really, really need.
That's perfect. That's exactly right. That's why I tell people too, you got to get out there. You got to get out there, try it out, see what's going to be like. And you don't know how until you do it. So it'll be really interesting. Okay. Now, if somebody wants to build out a van and they are ready today, what do they need to do? Do they need to purchase the van and then get on your wait list, or what are we talking about here?
Yeah, so whether you have a van or you want to get a new van, or you have an RV, anything like that, I mean, the easy steps are to go to our website, freedomvango.com/contact. We have a contact form. Fill out as much of that information as you can. If you don't have a van yet, that's fine. You can say you don't have a van. If you do, put the information in there and kind of just put a little blurb down there about what you're looking for. We have 3 amazing people on our sales team. We have Hannah, we have Nick, and we have Chris. They will reach out to you typically within 1 to 3 days. Sometimes it gets really, really busy. Sometimes it might be, a day or 2 more, but typically our goal is to within 3 days or less to make sure we get back with you. We get a lot of email inquiries, so be patient, but I promise you we will get back. Calling is also an option. It's a little bit more cumbersome because because it's easier to get all that information on the front end so that we can effectively get you into the system and reach out to you and track it and all that kind of stuff. But you're also more than welcome to call. And the third way is come by the shop. We're in Jacksonville, Florida. We do have shop tours. We're more than happy to show you around. If you want a more detailed consultant, that way we can really, go step by step with the process. We would appreciate you reach out, make an appointment, but you're always welcome to drop in, get a tour of the shop. We have a full retail store, so everything that we sell, we use. So we can give you the reasons behind why we like to sell that to you and why we carry it and use it. So we fully encourage anybody to come by and say, hey.
That's awesome. And I'm going to come by and say hey this year. I'm excited.
I hope so.
I've been waiting and waiting. Every time I come down, like Jacksonville, Florida. So I'm an East Coast kind of van life girl. It's sort of weird. I know you travel all over the country, but for people always ask me, where do I go in the East Coast? Do I got to go all the way to Oregon? Do I got to go all the way to Utah? I'm like, no, you can just go to Grants. So there's lots of people that specialize in different things. But I will say this. I truly believe this, and I'll stake my low reputation on this. I think you are the best Winnebago EKKO outfitter when it comes to like add-ons and everything like that. So I really do believe in your product. I believe in what you guys are doing. So congratulations on that. And I hope you guys get more business from that.
Yeah, I do appreciate it. It's crazy when you see all the license plates that come in. I mean, we get people all the way from Oregon, Canada, New Mexico, Maine. Like it's crazy seeing all the different places that people come from. I mean, there are some people that will pass a whole lot of places because, this is what we do. Or what we do is EKKOs a lot because we own it, we live with it, we travel with it. I've put 25,000 miles on the Sprinter EKKO in less than a year, and a lot of those times we're living in it. I think probably 4 months out of this year I was living in that van. So we're van people. So it hopefully works out well. We speak from experience. We don't just like put parts on vans. We actually enjoy them and love them.
You walk the walk, you drive the tires. You go. That's what you go the extra mile. I totally get it. You can, when you can talk about it from experience, it makes a huge bit of difference. It really does. It really makes a good story. Well, listen, thanks for being my guest. I appreciate it so much. I'm going to see you. I'll see you in 2025. Going to come down there, get some work done. Very excited. Got a wish list. Just saying, it's like Christmas. I'm making my wish list. I've talked to Hannah. Got some things I want to think about. And
it's okay. It gets longer and longer the more you use it.
I know. Oh, be so exciting. But everyone has a name for their EKKO. They keep asking me what the name for my EKKO is. And I had a really cool name, but for some reason I call her EKKOlicious.
If it works, it works.
Got to come up with a better name. Rosie likes it. I call it the most expensive doghouse on wheels. So she loves that too. Gotta love that. All right, well, listen, thanks, man. I'm going to put you in the basement for a second. Hold on. Here we go.